Greetings, bones and ghouls, and welcome back to INDIEWEEN! I am so sick of the absurd prices of modern AAA games that I have decided that I am rising to meet those corporate goons and see how many indie games I can get for the price of one $80 AAA title. You can get a lot of indie for that much money, and let me tell you, it's been easy this year to show off so many cool games with all this extra wiggle room. Also, every video is going to have a meal prep cooking segment, which while normally full cooking segments are for patrons only, I'm just making it free for everyone to also stick it to all those stupid meal delivery services that are trying to gaslight us all into thinking we're too stupid to use our own stoves. Today we're going to add $10.99 to the total with indie RPG Felvidek. Felvidek is a game that I've been looking for an excuse to talk about for a while now, as I love me some offbeat RPGs. The game has you playing as Pavel, God's silliest Crusader and the least respected knight in the small fiefdom of Felvidek in 15th century Slovakia. Coincidentally, this takes place in the year 1451, or the year 1451. His liege lord is a total gamer who's too busy gaming to replace him, and he's such a screw-up that local priest Matej has decided to follow him around to try and stop Pavel from discovering a new rock bottom to hit. Good thing Matej is along for the ride too, as things are getting weird out in the old Holdfast, and Pavel's wife might be up to something again. Now how about some gameplay? Welcome to the province of Felvidek. Yes, it is an RPGMaker game, and it's one of the best put together ones I've played. It's right up there with stuff like Hylix 2 and Off, and on that note, I have been meaning to play Off since the re-release and looking for an excuse to do anything about it. That was a real cool game, like way back in the day, that I really enjoyed playing. If there are any stock assets here, I missed them. Everything is lovingly made and is in all likelihood pushing this iteration of RPGMaker to its absolute limit. I think this is one of the only RPGMaker games I've seen that has full motion cinematics in it, and at that, they're great. But how about the gameplay itself? Well, in the overworld, Felvidek is a sometimes top-down, mostly isometric perspective, with animated sprites that very much remind me of a Monty Python bit with how they move. Explore, poke things, talk to people, get stuff. You know the drill. In battle, Felvidek goes for the several dudes are facing you in first-person battle system, where attack order is based on speed and position in the party, and each character has a mana-adjacent pool called tools to use special abilities, which are called feints. Lots of flavor text here, but I'm with it. Feints are mostly based on what equipment you currently have equipped, but some characters have special abilities unique to themselves. They can be things such as using your mace to bash through someone's armor, or gun. There's also the usual one-time use items like the spicy juice or the petard, which makes a big boom. Use those sparingly. It's worth noting that Felvidek completely ignores the traditional level system in RPGMaker and instead opts for character progression to be entirely around the gear and rare consumables that will permanently increase a single stat. My boy Pavel needs his jam to grow big and strong. This changes the rules from the game from running around and steamrolling every group of enemies you can possibly find, which don't respawn by the way, to exploring, talking to people, and looking for secrets or to find tasks to complete that'll net you cash or those rare items again. Or maybe you get up a new set of gear. Maybe you find some figs. Money is a useful thing to get out of encounters, and sometimes baddies will drop useful stuff, but it's not exactly a good idea to burn through resources while trying to get more. You could come out way behind and end up in a big fight being understocked. There are a few in-game events that I think permanently improve your character, but overall, you're best off being shrewd about your purchases and judicious with your expendable items. Also, just don't run around the forest killing dudes, that's rude. One thing of note when it comes to Felvidek is that despite it being an RPGMaker game, which have a tendency to have a ton big, sprawling areas across a world that require many a fast travel system in them to get from A to B, Felvidek is quite small in comparison. There's only the castle, the town, the inn, the forest, and the endgame area for major areas. That's about, I can count that on one hand here. None of these areas are particularly large, but in a funny twist, they feel a lot more full of life than other games in this vein, which have a lot of areas where people will tell you next to nothing or are just sort of there to sell things to specifically you because we need a place for the character to restock. It certainly helps that the stylization of everything in Felvidek already gives everything a personality, but almost everyone you come across will have some sort of motive and background. Sure, it's very quick to get from one end of the game world to another, but the story itself never feels small. Time for the cooking segment. So in case you haven't noticed it yet, I'm doing these meal preps in groups of 3, each for the stove, slow cooker, and oven to prove that you can indeed have a varied menu of prep meals without having to resort to paying exorbitant fees for some corpo to bring them to your door. But you might have also noticed that I done screwed up the crockpot meal for my first session where I made the shrimp alfredo and the egg bites. It was so bad, I ended up having to not only scrap that recipe for all of you, but also it was inedible. I had to throw everything out. Such is life. Sometimes you think of an idea for a recipe and it doesn't work out. Lucky for me though, I do this for the love of the game and resorted to the tried and true method of coming up with a new recipe. Wandering around the grocery store until I see enough tasty looking stuff to cobble together an idea in my head, buying stuff, trying it out, iterating it a few times, and then writing it all down. No, really, sometimes I just cruise through my local grocery stores or the restaurant supply store to get ideas based on what I see around. That's also how I thought up of the Ganzito Fritos. I just saw, oh, we got a big thing of Ganzitos, like that 30 pack of them. That's probably enough to start like frying these. Thanks to this method, I dreamed up this chicken stir-fry noodle recipe, which has like almost 70 grams of protein per portion. Full recipe and approximate nutrition facts are available for free on the Patreon. So our first order of business is to acquire the chicken, portion it out, and marinate it. You know those off-brand chicken breasts that you see like in the grocery store refrigerator tubs for cheap? Yeah, that's exactly what we need right now. Get one that's at least 4 pounds, preferably a little over 4.5 as we're gonna lose some mass cooking, and we're shooting for about 8 ounces per portion, maybe more. As I've talked about before, an issue with marinades is that they don't penetrate very deep into the surface of the meat or whatever you're marinating, but the easy workaround to that is to simply dice the meat into small pieces, which we're gonna do anyway since this is a stir fry, which will drastically increase the surface area of the meat that the marinade can penetrate. What we're gonna do is prepare a chicken breast by cutting off any excess fat or whatever's hanging on the breast, cut the chicken into small cubes, and then divvying up all that meat into 4 1-gallon bags. Now for each bag, we're gonna add 1/4 cup of teriyaki sauce, 2 tablespoons of Bachan's Japanese barbecue sauce, I like the original version, and half a tablespoon of red pepper flakes. Use your hands to get that all incorporated and like the outside of the bag, you know. And then gently squeeze out any air before closing and letting that go for about 4 hours. Once 4 hours, or really however long is convenient for you passes, we're gonna get the veggies portioned and get the noodles going. Get a high-walled saucepan and a pot full of water ready, and it'd probably be a good idea to start the heat on that water now. Also, make sure that pot is pretty full as we're going to be losing quite a bit of water as we go. While that's getting hot, we're gonna get everything else ready to go. We're adding shredded carrots, mushrooms, green peppers, and white onion to this stir fry. Slice the green peppers into little strips like you'd find on top of a pizza, the onions into really thin slices, and the carrots and mushrooms should come pre-cut. It's funny, I never realized that it's the same price to buy a 24-ounce pack of mushrooms whole as it is to buy them pre-sliced, and if that's less work for us, I'm all for it. Meal preps need to be easy enough to do so that you don't feel overexerted doing them and then stop. Divvy up all those veggies into your bags of chicken, and if you really want to, you can try to mix it all up, but the chicken should have absorbed most of the marinade by now, and it'll all mix in the pan anyway. Now, once that water is boiling, set your saucepan to high heat and get the noodles ready. I found these really nice flat noodles here that come in little nests, which are perfect for our needs. 2 packages will do ya. Now what we're gonna do here is dump 1 bag of chicken and veggies into the saucepan with 2 tablespoons of your oil of choice per batch, and then immediately put 3 nests of noodles into the pot right next to it. These noodles are going to cook for 3 minutes according to the bag's instructions, and while that's happening, we're gonna be constantly stirring our chicken and veggies to get it cooking. Once the timer for the noodles goes off, We're going to use a kitchen spider or whatever you've got to scoop them right out of the pot and dump them directly into the saucepan with the chicken and veggies. It's okay for a little or even more than a little noodle water to get in there with the chicken, because if anything, it helps blend everything together just like you would for an Italian style pasta dish. Now we're going to keep stirring everything together until the noodles start to take on the color of the chicken and veggies, which is going to be about another 3 minutes, which is also going to be cumulatively more than enough time to get all these little bits of chicken cooked through and safe to eat. Now that it's ready, we're going to portion these out into containers, and we're just going to place them like right by the side of the pan and then divvy it up into the pan evenly between them. Once the portions are filled, add some more oil to the saucepan and repeat the process for each bag of chicken. This yields 8 really hearty, dinner-sized portions at about 800 calories each and 66 to almost a little over 70 grams of protein before everything gets shrunk out, like depending on how much chicken you were able to get. Better yet, it's cheap. I didn't exactly skimp on anything here, and as it is, it cost me 30 bucks for this cook, which comes to about $3.75 a serving. Better yet, if you want to stretch this out even more, you can divvy up each pan into 3 containers instead of 2, which is going to be a roughly 500 calorie lunch size portion, yielding you 12 portions for $2.50 each. But if you really want to stretch those dollars, you can go even more efficient. By some insane stroke of luck, these noodles that I use today have the same calories and macros as good old Top Ramen. And if you buy a 6-pack of Top Ramen instead of the 2 packages of these flat noodles, it's exactly the same amount of noodles, but it knocks $6 off the total, which, when we divide $24, that comes to $3 for dinner-sized portions and $2 for lunch-sized portions of this meal respectively. Like I said earlier in this video, and in every video this INDIEWEEN thus far, while normally full recipes and standalone cooking videos are for patrons only, I'm making all the standalone cooking segments for INDIEWEEN free for everyone to help you learn how to meal prep in a tasty and cost-effective manner. If you really like, you can still choose to support me over on patreon.com/charlatanwonder. Think of it as taking the savings you get from doing these yourself instead of using some really pricey service and passing a little on to me. Or not, it's totally cool. Now let's get back to the video. Welcome to the Spookies. I gotta be honest though, while there are creepy monsters and stuff in this one, it's more silly than spooky. The designs for the more creepy enemies are certainly inspired, but this is a game that loves to hit home that Pavel really is God's silliest Crusader every step of the way. There's certainly some ambience in the dungeons, but there's only so much you can do in RPGMaker, and Felvidek is already doing so much. But yeah, it's got scary monsters. Dudes eat the weird beans and get their mouths in their stomachs or turn into freaky tentacle guys. Some guys turn into eyeballs. Then there's this guy who didn't even eat the beans. He's just messed up from partying too much in the tavern. There's a lot of silly stuff like that. There's this guy who runs the tavern. Pavel and Matej's hijinks and banter. The forbidden dancing being such a big deal. And despite the potential ramifications of the events unfolding in the fiefdom of Felvidek, this game never really takes itself seriously. The one downside to all of this is that, especially towards the final act of the game, the silliness starts to peter out. I get it, the plot is coming to a climax and we need to put our serious faces on, but the game certainly suffers from the void of humor towards the end. It doesn't completely go away, but don't expect anything like forbidden dancing or discovering the Lord's naughty artwork when you're going to confront the big bad evil guy. We do kind of need to save the world though, so I guess it's understandable. And that's a good segue into the story, so let's talk about that for a bit. You are Pavel, former Crusader who earned his glory defending his home lands, and is now a full-time drunk, as not a whole lot happens in his part of the kingdom. Well, not a whole lot he wants to talk about anyway. Then suddenly you find the old holdfast is on fire way off in the distance. That's not good. That's weird. And there's weird beans all over the place when you get there. Hold that thought though, as Pavel's wife, Paula, has finally shown up again from wherever she was, and she is already making trouble. She gave one of the guards a funny little snack that gave him a tummy ache, so we gotta help him out and... Ah, geez, the poor man's literally leaving a trail of... Oh no. Oh no! Oh no! Ah, poor Pavel, man. Good thing that there's a mystery afoot to take our minds off this. The guy that we were probably gonna kill anyway broke into our quarters and he's all freaky looking now. Like, not in a natural way at all. Those beans might be trouble. Also, there are some guys in the forest. Like, more guys than usual. And has anyone noticed that the priest has been frequenting the brothel lately? Not Matej, like the other guy who's supposed to be holding sermons right now. People have also been disappearing en masse lately, and the only lead we've got are these beans. And based on what they did to this chicken, they're definitely the source of the weird monsters that are starting to crop up. The real question is, who is supplying the beans? Probably the guys in the forest. Okay, spoiler time, you know what to do. So everything fits together. The beans are definitely creating monsters and are being used by the cult of Zurvan, who worship, well, Zurvan. The cultists are locals who feel like the Lord, Pavel et al. Aren't doing enough to protect Felvidek from the Hussites who invaded years past, and they've turned to Zurvan and his funny beans to grant them power to defend themselves and maybe even do some more crusading later down the line. Ironically, the beans come from the very people they're looking to stave off. Pavel and the gang manage to infiltrate the cult's fortress in the woods and learn their plans, but do it a little too late. It turns out Paula, Pavel's wife, is gaslight gatekeep girlbossing her way to the top ranks of the cult and is happy to give Pavel a little stabbity stab if that means that her goals can advance. And also the other members of the cult botched kidnapping him, so she's got to do it herself. Lucky for Pavel, rather than bleeding out, he's visited by an angel, giving him a burning sword to vanquish all evil with. Meanwhile, the local noble Adam has finally shown up to tell us stuff we've already figured out, and the cult of Zurvan has gained enough mutant foot soldiers to straight up invade Felvidek's main town. Good thing we have a burning sword made of light and made friends along the way with a local inventor who will let us use his funny balloon to fly our way out of the siege and into the lair of the cult. We confront the avatar of Zurvan, steal his magical burning sword, which means we got 2 of those now, but this one's all evil looking, so maybe don't touch it. Time to make our way to the inner sanctum of the cult. Turns out that this one guy who kicked the crap out of Matej earlier is something of an upstart in the cult of Zurvan and not only pushed out Paula, but is also using the cult to achieve immortality by means of using all these cultists to make a flesh palace. Usual cult stuff, you know? We beat the snot out of him, skewer him with one of the burning swords, and then we use the other that we picked up to fly our way out. So the crisis is resolved, and we all lived mostly happily ever after. I gotta be honest here, I am heavily paraphrasing, and the story is really enjoyable with a lot of good jokes in it. It's definitely worth experiencing for yourself. So my final thoughts on Felvidek is that it's the best 4 hours I've spent in RPGMaker, or any traditional RPG for that matter. I know 4 hours might sound a little short, but Felvidek is exactly as long as it needs to be, and I've never been a fan of the $1 1 hour mentality. I personally think such mentalities encourage endless low engagement grind for the sake of padding hours, and also insinuates that 1 hour of our time is only worth a single dollar. An hour of your time is worth much more than that. Personally, my rule of thumb is that a game should have about as much entertainment value as its equivalent price in movie tickets. And at $10.99, Felvidek provides much more entertainment than your average summer release. If you're not into movies, just extrapolate that to whatever else you go out and do for fun that has a price tag associated with it. Felvidek is a game that takes its engine to its limits and has some compelling battles and a great sense of humor. So just to keep us on track, the total so far we've got is Zero Protocol at $11.99, Brush Burial at $6.99, Heartworm at $14.99, Tower of Kalamanbo at $14.99 again, and now Felvidek at $10.99 for a total of $59.95. Look at that. For the price of a single AAA video game before they decided to bleed us even more for their bloated, unfinished 200 gigabyte messes on our hard drive, we get no less than 5 indie games, which provide us a lot more entertainment value. Also for reference, according to my Steam hard drive and other such things, the cumulative hard drive space you need for all the games so far this INDIEWEEN is just over 11 gigs, most of that being Heartworm, which comes in at a little under 8. I always like it when games respect that it's not the only thing that's going to be installed onto my computer. Tune in next time where the running total of INDIEWEEN is going to go up to $68.94. Thank you so much for joining me on my unhinged crusade against the price product bloat, and be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, and double check to make sure that you're subscribed and getting notifications for when the next video drops, as we're all over the place this INDIEWEEN. Also, do whatever you need to do to hype me, however YouTube's doing that now. I really wish things were more straightforward with YouTube these days, but sometimes you gotta play the game. As always, INDIEWEEN's cooking segments are up for free for everyone on patreon.com/charlatanwonder, where any pledge goes a long way to helping me keep sticking it to the slop industrial complex. Also, before you go, I'm currently live on the Purple Place right about now playing spooky games. Come on down. But for now, let's sign off. Remember that no matter what you do, be it studying scripture, painting scandalous frescoes, or whatever this big fellow was up to, what you do should never be called content. It is art. Content is a word that in recent years has been twisted into meaning a means to grind up all your skills, passions, and aspirations into a gray sludge meant for nothing more than making a line go up for the benefit of some suit in a boardroom. Your art in no way deserves that, because art is sacred, and art is inalienably a reflection of its creator by the very act of its creation, and in no way do you deserve to be reduced to content. So get out there and fight for yourself by fighting against the contentification of everything. Stay saucy. Stimulated, boy. Just all the stimuli all at once. I came home from the gym. The washing machine is making noises. And there are smells and textures on my backpack for him to partake in. Like usually he's rubbed against, this is the notebook I use to take notes during videos. But this has got like bonus smells on it. It's been places. Like originally I had my gym bag on this chair, but he was just going at it so hard I moved it up for him. What a silly Billy. Look, okay, you know what? Okay, just be careful. I know that I made sure that all the pins, like there's nothing sticking out. But please do not poke yourself. Yeah, everything should be good on this. Can I pet you? Do you want that kind of stimulation too? Oh. Okay, he was feeling it for a second, but now not so much. I know my water's in there and I'm rather thirsty after the gym, but I think I'm just gonna have to get something out of the fridge because I don't think I'm getting access to this backpack anytime soon. I don't think this is mine anymore. Oh yeah, there he goes. He lives on this now. Better than any scratching post because it has the smells.